White rice has been demonized.
It's the latest development that raises the question.
It's really bad for you. Is that true?
People that eat a lot of rice have higher rates of diabetes.
Quite a claim to make.
Your gut is waiting to help you with that.
Oh, is that controversial?
You really need to vet who you're receiving your information from. White rice, I said it and I mean it.
Top 3 food items for soluble fiber.
Kiwi, white rice, chia.
Ooh.
White rice. Should we delve into?
Yes, please.
Oh, is that controversial?
White rice has been demonized incorrectly. I mean, yes, there are issues with rice.
But if somebody is worried about the white rice spiking their blood sugar, because I think that's why that seems so controversial for me to say that, we do know that if you increase the amount of resistant starch in the rice by cooking it and then allowing it to cool down, it develops those starch molecules that are called resistant starch. And what I mean by resistant starch is it resists getting digested and absorbed in the small intestine, and it passes into the large intestine, the colon, and it gets fermented rather by your bacteria that live there. And that's their job to do that, so they can help you. So if it's not getting digested and absorbed in the small intestine, it's not going to have the same effect on your blood sugar. And so if someone's worried about that, say they are diabetic and they do see white rice spikes their blood sugar, use that method. Cook it, let it cool. That's why if you guys have ever left out a pot of white rice and then came back, there's this little film that forms around the edges of the pot. That little film is resistant starch, so eat that because it's really good for you. But a bunch more of it comes out of the rice and develops in the rice. If you leave it in the refrigerator, you cool it down. And then the key is if you reheat it, try not to reheat it above 170 degrees Fahrenheit because that breaks down the starch bonds and the starch molecules if you do that. So white rice, I said it and I mean it.
Dahlia, you have made my Deshi soul so happy. You hear that, people? Can't take it down, eat your white rice.
Enjoy your white rice. We've been eating white rice for centuries.
But the key is that letting the resistant starch form as much as possible, that's going to keep the blood sugar from spiking. Yeah, we're not saying fresh cooked white rice, go to town and eat the whole pot. Like, be careful with that. But yeah, if you leave your pot of white rice out, you're scrubbing that pot, and you're scrubbing resistant starch. That's why it's so hard to clean that sticky pot of white rice the next day. That's all resistant starch.
But I love how you talk about the process of cooking, because I think particularly for cultures, like I'm from Bangladesh, that's how we have traditionally always cooked rice. We soak it for like an hour, we clean off the starch, and then we cook it. And then it just sits on the counter for about 4 hours. And my American friends are freaking out that they're going to get food poisoning. And they're like, oh my God, you got to throw it away. And we're like, don't you dare throw away that rice. You will be kicked out of the house if you throw away that. So we have a very different concept on how to prepare food, what is considered generally safe.
Yeah, soak fiber because it helps pre-digest it, and it's going to make it so much easier for you to digest. Cook it properly. Eat your leftovers. Like this whole rice controversy that came out this year that was like, don't eat leftover rice. You're going to get this toxin that's in the rice. It's going to kill you. Don't eat leftover rice that you left out on the counter for 3 days. Clearly, that will give you food poisoning. But yes, eat your refrigerated rice. That's actually more beneficial for your health. So yeah, for centuries, I think so many cultures have known just proper preparation methods so that you can better digest and absorb the nutrient. And even just what we're pairing together, right? In so many cultures, they're pairing a protein or a legume with their grains, and they're pairing certain veggies, and they're eating seasonally. And a lot of these diseases that we're suffering from nowadays just were not in existence at that time, or maybe they weren't diagnosed and they were, but we weren't seeing a high percentage of people say, I have IBS, so I'm not going to eat vegetables anymore. Or, I'm not going to eat grains.
Can I just get you to tell me again how to prepare the rice? Because I swear everyone in this country says if you don't heat it up properly, you're going to get food poisoning. And I believe that I have had food poisoning from reheated rice. So I want to know this process. So you said boil it, let it cool down, put it in the fridge, then what?
Can I just interject as well? Can you answer 2 questions at once? So just to confirm, when I take it out of the fridge, yeah, that layer of, like, it's not pure white anymore, yeah? You're saying I don't need to wipe that off. I can eat that and that's good.
Yes, absolutely. So eat that layer of that little film that forms around your pot. That is resistant starch. So when you've cooked it and then enabled it to cool, that forms. And then we know that you can feed two birds with one seed, if you will. So that bacteria that people were worried about in rice is called Bacillus cereus. It is killed if you heat the rice above 145 degrees. But people need to know it's only going to get there in the first place if you've just left the rice out room temperature
Too long,
for way too long. So yes, it's fine to leave your rice out for an hour or two for it to just come down, decrease the temperature so it doesn't dysregulate the temperature of your refrigerator. Refrigerate it after that. If you refrigerate it after that, the temperature in your refrigerator is going to prevent that bacteria from developing. If you're putting rice away after it's been out of a buffet, for a family event after 8 hours, it may have already developed that Bacillus cereus. So that bacteria could already be there. But if you reheat it at least to 145 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 15 seconds, you will kill it. So you don't have to eat it cold again if you're really worried about it, or maybe you're immunocompromised and don't want to risk it. Yes, heat up your rice, but heat it up at that proper temperature. So we're trying to keep it between that 145 and 170 if you can. That's pretty tricky to get there, but you're really trying to be technical. And you're one of these people who's like, I'm going to do all this stuff. Take out your thermometer and measure the temperature again.